What is up, everybody? We are back. This is No Apologies, the podcast where we give you the raw, the real, and how we feel. We are your hosts. My name is Mo.
My name is Casey.
Let's get into it. Okay, we have a pretty interesting situation going on this week. We are actually on the cusp of Christmas. If you didn't know, now you know. Get it together. Make sure you get out there and do the best that you can. Starting off with the Christmas spirit, we dedicated our baby, as we said last week. And this is going to be his first Christmas. So if you're not following us on our social media platforms, make sure you do. It is Better Benefield or Mo Benefield or Casey Benefield on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, everything, okay? Make sure you come out and support.
Yeah, we did all our Christmas shopping. Caden got a chance to really admire the tree. We get to take our family Christmas photos next week. Got little pajamas and stuff. I'm one of the big Christmas people. I like Christmas. Christmas is my favorite holiday. I like the music. I love the food. But for the most part, the exchanging the gifts and celebrating Jesus' birthday is that's my thing.
One of the biggest things is when we talk about tradition, a lot of people do the back and forth when they do Thanksgiving, they do the turkey and the ham, and then turn around on Christmas and do the turkey and the ham. But one of the things alongside of breaking generational curses is coming up with your own traditions in your generation. And one thing that I not only enjoy but love that my husband agreed to it is that we barbecue on Christmas. Yes. We had our turkey, we had our ham, we had our dressing, stuffing, the whole shebang for Turkey Day. Yes. But now it's Christmas and I don't like to eat turkey twice and it costs way too much. But barbecuing is definitely my favorite thing.
Yeah, this is something that our family tradition. We bring on the barbecue ribs and the hamburgers and hot dogs and the baked beans and sweet potato pies because that's another symbol of Christmas. And this year, one of the gifts I got myself was that LeBron James tequila, and I'm really interested to see what that's all about.
I'm just super excited. I made a purchase that hopefully sparks a new endeavor for my husband, and I can't wait till afterwards so he can speak on it once everything's been brought into fruition on it. I am manifesting that it does transpire into something greater. But getting into our news, there's a plethora of things. First, I want to touch base because I am a Mississippian. I want to touch on Deion. Yes, this was his final game last week, but I just want to touch back on last week when it came to the notoriety that he brought to Jackson. Jackson is still without running water. Jackson is still being charged for water. Jackson is having a hard time right now. And even though we're talking about swag this, swag that football, this football, that Colorado, let's talk about the real things. Where's this tax money? What these people still got to work. These babies still got to eat. People still got to wash their butts. So what's really going on?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that Deion did that was not just good for the university, but also good for the state of Mississippi. But there are a lot of problems with what's going on with the legislation and the government and the way the state is being run concerning the water. But this is not the first time we've seen that. The water in Flint is still no good. There are a lot of things that need to be addressed. And, I mean, don't you guys come, but HBCU football should have been on the back burner concerning, what is actually taking place in the state of Mississippi.
Yes, not only that, I remember when I was in school, Jackson State had a housing issue in which they bought out a hotel and then turned them into dorm rooms, which everybody was like, dang, that's cool. Everybody got their own bathroom. But the thing is, you're still paying dormitory fees to live off campus. And even though some people have it in their scholarships, it's the fact that things like this, how do you over-enroll and don't have anywhere to house your students? Now there's a part where Tate Reeves has so much money that's been placed in this budget and they put it towards the wrong things. Like, honestly, I would rather have running water than have a state fair. Some people may feel different that travel from different cities, but even though I'm not from Jackson, I understand that being in Mississippi, we're already impoverished, so at least we can have the basic necessities.
Yeah, but see, that's a two-edged sword, boo-boo. The state fair pays for a lot of jobs in the state. State fair brings in revenue, so you don't want to remove revenue. It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. I will say that one of the things they you're trying to grab the mic. Well, one of the things they could have addressed in Mississippi is the money that Brett Favre stole. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the almost $6 million that Brett Favre stole. And I'm still confused as to why the pressure. I don't know as by the time we upload this if he's paid the money back, but that seemed like a start, giving back that $6 million that he stole from the state.
So when he stole that money from USM that's in Hattiesburg, I don't know if he would give it back to the institution or donate it to the state.
I don't care. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you donate it to the school and the school pays a bill with it, it still goes back to the state. So regardless of how the money gets back and how it gets allocated, that is something that I feel should definitely be front page news because whenever there's something else going on in our community, it's front and center. Kyrie Irving's comments about a movie, not even a comment, just sharing a link, all the stuff that was going on, and they questioned LeBron James about it. Things like that are always front page news, and they keep sweeping stuff like Brett Favre, a millionaire who's stealing money from the poorest people in the country, let alone the poorest people in Mississippi.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around it. Especially, like I said, the basic necessities, like Casey said, Flint's water has been bad for so long, and for the driving force of their water source to go down, and there's no side steps. People are still being charged by these water companies. Where's the relief? Like, where are our legislators that are being elected into office? That's why we put so much of an emphasis on voting, and not only at the top of the ballot but the bottom. What is the president going to do? Because he just signed about the indigenous holiday that's going to be coincide with Christopher Columbus Day. But what about the people?
See, that's the part that people are missing, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Him, you want to say, I'm glad that he's celebrating indigenous people. But then whenever something like this happens, you always ask yourself, like, why now are we celebrating the indigenous people? Like, indigenous people have been here. That's why they're indigenous. So why now are we celebrating them? It's almost comical because it's securing a voting block. You're saying, I'm for you. They're not. So vote for me. Vote for my party. It's the same thing with Brittany Griner. It's the same thing. We need to start holding politicians accountable for what they've done, but we also need to be in a position to know, is our movement what changed their mind? Like, we all know Joe Biden wrote the crime bill that everyone was mad at Bill Clinton about. He wrote the bill. So I want to see Joe Biden, because his bill incarcerated mass amounts of black and brown people. I want to see Joe Biden push Congress to do something about these laws. This 85% truth of sentencing. I want to see him do something about that. I want to see him on the federal level release some of these people that are in prison for minor marijuana infractions. I want to see him do something since he did something.
Yeah, I really felt like that statement was back to that Aunt Jemima when they changed it from her face from a mammy to Pearl Milling Company. But that's not what we asked for. We asked for something that was going to make a difference, not something that you could profit from. But moving on, there are so many things that are going on. Like I said, this is the holidays. This will be the first Christmas without my grandmother. It was the first Thanksgiving without her. It's been tough, but we've been getting by. But on the agenda, what do you got for me, baby?
Well, I want to say send out our deepest condolences to Twitch, his family. Earlier this week, he committed suicide. Now, mental illness is something that was spoke about today at church, but I need for our listeners and viewers and those that have friends and family to really understand and listen to this. Mental illness is real. And everyone has a form of mental illness. Is how you deal with it. And in our community, because they said that in the suicide note that Twitch left, he had referenced a lot of demons that he had in his past. Like, it was ambiguous. Like, he didn't say like I had a drug problem or I had this a drinking problem. He just referenced having a problem and the change that he had to make. Well, this just goes to show that because he had no one to talk to, those things that haunted him literally chased him to the grave. And as a black man, it is imperative that we check on our brothers, that we say, hey, how's your mental? Is there something that's going on? This, that, and other. Don't assume that somebody is okay. You should never make that assumption. If you care about somebody, you should check on them. That's that, and if you know that you've checked on, if somebody was checking on Twitch and he gave no signs that this happened, then that's sad. There was nothing you can do. But if you could have spoken to somebody who was going through something, and your conversation could have saved their life today, that's your job.
I could truly attest to that because when we were prepping for our wedding, um, Coach Johnson, who was like a father figure to me, growing up, he lost his battle with mental illness after the death of his mother, and literally the week before I was going to ask him to walk me down the aisle, he committed suicide. So it's a heavy hitter, but like you said, mental illness. And one thing I want to dispose of in the black community is thinking that, oh, there's nothing wrong with me, everything's perfect, that mental illness doesn't exist. It exists in children. It exists in tweens, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and above. It exists in elderly. Everyone's like, oh, she has dementia or he has Alzheimer's. Yes, those are forms that come later on in life. But how do you deal with your emotions? How is your mental state? Every day, every time I get a chance to ask my sister Nate how she's doing, I always ask about her mental, because the thing is, as a black woman, we're seen to be strong. We're seen to be, as some men say, led by our emotions, but it's so hard to communicate our emotions sometimes. So just a simple, hey, how are you doing, goes a long way.
Well, and another thing that needs to stop, when a person appears to be mentally ill or is depressed, saying that they should pray is not the wrong thing. But if you're able to get sick and pray and see the doctor, why would it be any different with your mental illness? If you don't feel good, you got a cough, fever, headache, you're vomiting, whatever, you'll pray about it, but you'll see a physician. So if you're depressed, saddened, or you're having any thoughts of harming yourself, why not pray and see a psychiatrist? That seems like what the plan should be. Mental illness means that there's something wrong with your thought process, meaning something wrong with your brain. That is something that cannot be just seen. You have to talk about this. You have to speak on this. But you have to have somebody to speak to. So let's stop the nonsense of saying that if a person, especially if a man says, hey, I'm depressed or I'm going through something, this, and another, that somehow makes him weaker. No, acknowledging that you have a problem and seeking a solution is showing signs of strength. That means that you are willing to take on the problem head on and figure out what you need to do. Hiding it and acting like it's not there, or hiding your head in the sand, saying that I'm just going to get through it, or real men don't get depressed, this, that, and other. That has been the old playbook and it's not working. So as a community, we need to do better.
And that goes the same with real men don't cry or don't be a sissy, because I honestly believe that was like a slave mentality. You weren't supposed to be weak regardless of what people were doing to you. But we're in a day and age where everyone is hiding so much. You can't even get into a real fist fight these days because everyone is so quick to pull a trigger. It's the same way with the mind. Everyone is so quick to just be done with it. Everything has a balance. There are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days. And one thing that I wanted to tie into this mental awareness is that not only are we battling with losing loved ones so frequently, but also social media. There's so much going on that social media is a part of daily life. Even if you're unplugged, you're going to see something, whether it's on the news, whether you're walking by and see an ad, you cannot escape social media. And the thing is, we've already dealt with the imagery of women. We're already dealing with how we should look, how basically going off of how we should be as a person. But sometimes we're attacked when we're different. And also that as a parent, you should monitor your children, because there are a lot of them that don't feel comfortable as themselves anymore. And there's a lot of bullying.
Well, this just basically comes back to just communication, making sure that we speak to each other. If you see something, say something type mentality to try to talk to each other, to make sure that we're checking in, whether it be mom checking in on daughter or son, or dad checking in on daughter or son, or sister checking in on sister or brother, or brother checking on mother, father. You have to make sure that the people you love are okay. You check on everything else. If you would check to see if a goldfish is alive in your son's room, or if the dog has been fed, or someone took the dog out for a walk, or it has water in the bowl, surely you can check on the people in your life that you're supposed to love. And loving a person, love is an action, as wifey always says. So checking in on somebody and making sure that you're just there to listen. You don't have to do the talking. Just I believe that Twitch just really needed somebody to talk to. I don't believe he needed anybody to talk to him. I believe that he needed someone to say, hey, you know what? Whatever you're going through or whatever you've gotten through it. Because here you are today. I wish someone could have told him that, hey, you got 3 kids and the youngest is a 3-year-old. They're going to need you forever before you make that decision. Let's try to find another way. Because I believe had he had someone to talk to, because he put his phone on airplane mode so he couldn't be tracked and no one could call him. He was like a mile away from his house, went to a motel, and he shot himself. He shot himself. This is a couple weeks before Christmas. Got 3 kids, man. 40 years old, young man. Yeah, I mean, and see that's another thing too. People believe that poor people commit suicide. No, poor people go to work. I'm not trying to be funny, but when you poor, you definitely can't afford to die. You got responsibilities. It's the people that you think don't have problems. It's the people you think that what could be a better life than showing up on TV, fake DJing, doing a few dance steps, and hanging out in Hollywood with rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous. His life didn't look like it was sad on the outside, but Twitch's life was sad enough for him to take his life. He didn't want to live it anymore, and that's tough, man. So we're asking this holidays, make sure you check on your fam, bro.
And start that as a new tradition. Like I said, we create our own in our small family, and we believe in open communication. And he is in Casey. My husband has been tearing at my walls for the past 3 years on trying to get me to open up emotionally. And I'm trying to do better, especially for the sake of my child. Because if I can't talk to my husband, especially how am I supposed to communicate to my son? But as far as that went, when I brought up social media, there was an 11-year-old girl on social media who met a dude through Instagram, and they were chatting back and forth for months, it seemed. And she packed the bag, and he picked her up, and she left. And that was all that was said. And they put out an APB for her. They were looking for her. All they kept saying was that he was a 22-year-old. They didn't know if it was a man, a woman, what the person looked like. But days later, after it's made all this news and publicity, and the mother and the auntie were crying out for her, she magically reappears. The police didn't find her. She literally ended up on the porch. But my thing is this: be on the case. When it comes to social media, know who your kid is talking to. We always grew up don't talk to strangers, but then they got dating apps. We always grew up always know where your surroundings are, but yet we use Google Maps for everything. But just as a parent, especially those with older children, be more keen to what your children are seeing and who they're talking to online.
Yeah, you have to, as parents, we have to be vigilant with the monitoring of each other. Not saying overparent or underparent, just being a parent and making sure that you know who is in your child's life. But more importantly, if you are being a part of your child's life, then you'll always see the participants. One thing that I wanted to address was I was talking to my brothers last night about TikTok. His wifey was talking about social media and the difference in the reason I believe that TikTok is a threat is because when you divide people, so you tell the brown people they shouldn't like the black people, you tell the black people they shouldn't like the red people, You tell the white people they shouldn't like nobody other than themselves, this, that, and other. So you stop and cut off communication. You stop healthy debates because you're not able to go into my neighborhood and disagree with what our ideology is because we're not the same. However, we can have this exact same debate on TikTok almost in real time most of the time, going back and forth. And the way you keep a people divided is by cutting off communication. That goes all the way back to the biblical times. The Tower of Babel was to stop them from talking. And once they were stopped from talking, they were unable to move forward. That's what goes on now. The problem is now you have the United States government saying that TikTok is a Chinese ploy. They're infecting your children with this, that, and other. No, it seems like to me that the United States is mad because they cannot control the narrative that comes across the internet, because you're going to find a lot of things on TikTok that you're not going to see in regular news. Things that have happened, whether it be in a black, brown community or wherever, but these are things that are not making CNN or Fox. Case in point, there was 3 years ago, there was a black police officer at a police training seminar. So that means everybody at this seminar is a police officer. This man was a 18-year veteran on the Detroit police force. So that means that he's been there almost 20 years. He went in the bathroom. There was another white cop in the bathroom, and he adjusted the money in his wallet. The white cop saw the money. It was a large amount of money, whatever, and they went back to the seminar. But at the end of the seminar, the white cop then arrested the black cop for having too much money. Now, I've been trying to look. I'm trying to find out what the charge would be because I don't know how you can tell somebody they had too much money. But I surely don't know how you could tell a cop that he has too much money and arrest him. So I want you guys to think about this. If this cop was willing to tell a fellow cop, you have too much money, knowing he was a police officer, didn't say he was a dirty cop, didn't say he was soliciting drugs or like some side hustle, was a pimp or nothing, just that he had too much money. This is the same guy who is policing Detroit and arresting non-police officers. This is who's on the beat. If he didn't see a fellow cop as a peer, what does that mean for other black people in that community?
Talk about it. And that's the thing. Not only arrested him, had him detained and in a cell, and would not release him until his girlfriend brought over the receipt from the bank, showing the bank statement that was his money and it was withdrawn. Didn't care of the reason. It had to be justified to him. But my thing is, where are all these other cops? So so the whole station was just empty. Brought him in, fingerprinted him, put him in a cell, and nobody said anything.
No, the chief of police, and that's where it really gets upsetting because the chief of police was a black guy. He defended the white guy's actions, saying he didn't know where he got the money from. I still don't even know why that matters. But see, this is where the narrative gets, where the blue wall and all the other stuff. But I want everyone to understand when they say Blue Lives Matter, they're not talking about black cops. They're not. There can't be. This man has been a pillar in the community. This is what you want to tell the black youth in Detroit. You say, you know what? You can grow up and you can help change the things in your community by becoming a police officer, developing a relationship with the community, and fixing those problems. Why would a child want to grow up and be a police officer if even as a police officer he's not safe from racist profiling and arrest? Because a black cop was arrested by a white cop for having too much money. There's a casino in Detroit. For all we know, he had just hit it big, or he was going to buy a truck or a motorcycle. It's none of our business what this officer was doing with his money. But it is our business to know why the white cop demanded to know why.
And the thing that grinds my gears, he saw him during the break in the bathroom, goes back to the training, finishes the training, and then arrests him once they're off the property. So not only did you already have this in mind, but you sat there and marinated on how you gonna do it, when you gonna do it. Like, if you had a problem, then why not just say it if we're supposed to be co-workers, if we're supposed to be fellow officers? So you really had a motive so deep that you were willing to marinate on that idea, and then you could not wait to arrest him because literally as soon as he turned the corner, because they literally said it was right off the property line. So it boggles my mind, and you see every day of people misusing the police time and time again, like the student at student at the Salem College who had the officer called on her and she was arrested for raising her voice at a teacher. This is an HBCU. The professor, for whatever reason, they were in a dispute and the student decided to raise her voice. The officer, first, the black officer that came, tried to understand the situation on both sides and was trying to diffuse the situation. She calls the police again and brings another cop, which happened to be a white fellow, and instead of trying to hear out the story, immediately arrested her and then threatened to arrest anyone else that was willing to help her. Everyone recorded it, everyone saw it, and in the video you could see her friend grab everything that she needed to help her out. But it was disturbing.
Yeah, it's so going back to with the Detroit cop first. My whole thing is I want to say I was trying to tell wife before she went on to the campus police. My thing is this: had the Detroit cop refused or resisted arrest and gotten killed, God forbid, the newspaper would have said that a cop got killed with a large amount of money on him, and that would have been the narrative they ran with. It would not have been that this black cop was harassed by this white cop. It would have been that this black officer had a large amount of money on him, and we don't know why. And they leave things like that ambiguously so that you can draw your own reference. Like, oh man, he must have been a dirty cop, or maybe that's why the cop was trying to arrest him because he was undercover. You start making up stories, and that's why that was such a dangerous situation. Now with the campus police, with the sister said they got arrested. She said that the black cop was one of those. What was actually more or less like the cop in Detroit. He was known around campus as being one. He was strict, but he was also fair. And all the children at the school knew the guy. So when he came in, he was trying to get basically to the bottom of the situation. What the professor did is inexcusable. But my question is, what are they going to do now? Because I would have felt better after seeing the video if every student left that classroom and went to the dean and said, this class, nobody at this school will ever take this class because this woman is not here for the education of me and my people. That's what should have happened. I don't need 50 videos of somebody being mistreated. I don't need to see that 50 times from 50 different angles. What I need to know is, what are we going to do about it now? Every student, and this should be a grassroots movement. This should be a thing where the students should be able to show their muscle, to exercise their power, and tell the dean, everybody drop that class, because she's not the only teacher that teaches that. I don't know what the class was.
It was a group project.
Okay, but even that being said, then you get the parents involved. It can't be that that's okay, because if you say that that's okay, it's never going to change. So if you got to sacrifice that final and say, you know what, this would have brought more news attention, and if she's not tenured, ask for her job. That's what has to happen. We cannot just continuously allow people to mistreat us and say that it's okay, or put up a video about it and then comment on it and leave it at that. We at some point in time, we've got to do something.
The part that really gets me, and Casey's 1000%, you don't need 50 videos from 50 different angles. You need 50 students to stand up and get up out of there. Yep. And do something about it. Yep. But weaponizing the police, it's enough in these random streets. But to pay for your education, and the person that's supposed to care about your knowledge, supposed to care about your growth as an individual, weaponizes the police over an apology.
Yeah, but and that's the part that I also don't like, because in the video, even though we're on the white campus police for showing up and threatening people, it was the black police put the cuffs on and walked her out. He should have made a decision and said, no, I'm not cuffing her. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have her removed from this classroom. She's going to go walk out in the hallway with me, and then we're going to figure this out. But I'm not arresting this young lady because based on the eyewitness accounts in this classroom, she didn't do anything. So he's got a job to do too. When I say us, I mean anybody who is against bigotry, racism, discrimination has a responsibility now to do something about it. Stop acting like it's only a problem if it happens to you, because an injustice to one is an injustice to all, and everybody should be involved in that.
And coming together as a community. And to piggyback off of that on a lighter note, if you have not been on TikTok, we're going back to social media. There is a Black Girl Magic follow train that I am in love with. Women are posting videos saying, like and follow, I'll follow you back. And it's beautiful. I've gotten about 120 followers already from one video, and some without a video. But my timeline is full of Black women now, and it's beautiful. And that's the thing. There was a lash out. Someone made a video of why is it just Black girl follow Black girl. We're already underrepresented, and we're already underpaid in the industry of content creation. So just to have a follow train to see people that look like me, it shouldn't bother you. I'll leave it at that.
I don't know why. I, my thing is that I don't care who follows who. Like, I don't know why that would bother anybody. But this goes back to a debate that we were having. What sells better than sex? And one of my bros answered and said culture, because of the influence that culture has on the selling of sex, whether it be a BBL or lip enhancement, breast augmentation, whatever. And my answer to him was, you can't sell culture because you can't own it. There are people that believe that their traditions belong to their people, when in all actuality they don't. I can give you two examples right off the top of my head. In Los Angeles for years, probably still to today, a lot of Chicanos believe that zoo suits is a Chicano / Mexican tradition, even though we know that in New York City, Count Basie, Malcolm X, all of these great blues and jazz singers in nightclubs wore zoo suits. They weren't Mexican. Or you can look at Horchata. Mexican. I was talking to one of my colleagues at work. She's from Colombia, and she did not know that Horchata was from Nigeria. Came from Nigeria with the Moors, went to Spain, and then when the Spaniards came to what we now know as Mexico, they brought that with them. Now, they'll argue down and say that that's their history, that's their culture. Their great, 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 great grandmother made this. Cool. Your great, 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 great grandmother got it from mine. So that's really what it comes down to. So you can't own culture. People borrow, people steal, people emulate, people appropriate, people misappropriate culture. You can't own it. If you could own it, Karl Kani will be bigger than Tommy Hilfiger. See what I mean? Karl Kani, for all the people in the D, Karl Kani, when we were growing up, was the only representation we had for black jeans and boots, things of that nature. And Karl Kani's gear was really something special. But people were getting the quote unquote clout from wearing Tommy Hilfiger. And when you look at I really dug the Karl Kani vest with the buckles, like Jodeci and all that stuff was out. But the Karl Kani's gear was always on point, and it was a black owned business, like one of the first black clothing line that I ever really knew about. But black people were still supporting Tommy Hilfiger right up until when he came on Oprah and said that my clothes weren't made for black people. I'll give you something else. Nobody knew who Michael Mary was or Billie Jean. Pop Smoke put that in a song, and they went from a mom and pop shop to basically a conglomerate overnight.
The mighty dollar.
The black money.
But that just brings back to the real McCoy. McCoy was making all these wonderful inventions, top of the line things, and people were making dupes to the point where people were asking, "Is this the real McCoy?" So that's where that saying came into play as well, because people were trying to emulate, but it wasn't the original.
Yeah, for you guys that don't didn't know Wifey's reference, Elijah McCoy is one of the greatest inventors in U.S. history. At the time of his passing, I think he had over 5,000 patents. So whenever people would sell goods or inventions, people would ask the question, is this the real McCoy? Because they were really referencing, hey, did Elijah McCoy really make this? Or is this just a replica? Is this real? So it just goes to show that even with a patent, you can't own something. You can own it for a time. And if you don't renew that patent within the time frame whatever set, you can lose your patent. And a lot of people don't know that. So let's say you're the inventor of Beats headphones. Let's just use Beats. And in 10 years, I have to renew the patent for those headphones. If I don't show up at the patent office with my patent and the money and everything, and somebody else comes in and puts a patent on Beats, they now own it and just change the name. So if this is how you have to keep ownership of physical intellectual properties, how on earth could you own culture? Because I told my bro, I said the only thing I know that sells better or will be more lucrative than sex is death. That's it. That's it. No matter what you do, you're never gonna hear about caskets or mortuaries going out of business because people are gonna die. People are going to die. Now, it may never be as big as the sex industry, but it will outlive it because at some point in time, you'll get to like a town where you have a very high moral code. Everyone's married. There are no strip clubs or they just don't have that type of lifestyle. But you know what they do have? A cemetery.
Well, that's the thing. So human desire and human nature are two things. So you're going to die and you're going to have the desire of that, regardless if you're married or not. It's human nature to procreate, and what all that entails to it. And that's the thing. Homo was back in the Bible days, so you can't argue that. So I understand that, and you guys seem to have a really deep conversation. I really appreciate that. I can't read your handwriting.
Oh, it's Megan Thee Stallion. I know you want to talk about that.
I do want to touch base, but then again, I don't, on the Meg Thee Stallion situation, because, like I said, there's so much going on, especially when it brings up mental health. She's gaining secondhand embarrassment because instead of focusing on the actual shooting, they're bringing up her sexual history and basically displaying it on every social media platform and news outlet that's following the trial. And not only that, she's in a committed relationship, and her counterpart feels secondhand embarrassment for her. And it's gotten to the point where her mental stability is in question, where she says she wished the bullet would have killed her versus, going through this trial. Because remember, Megan never pressed charge to, file the lawsuit. It was the state. So everyone's saying Meg's doing this for clout. No, she never she was like Lil' Kim and stayed tight-lipped. It was Tory that leaked the story to begin with. And now it's the state that's bringing it to trial. And now she is forced to stand trial and relive this situation. And not only that, the so-called friend that she had, Kelsey, it's coming out that her prior record label that did her dirty and held all of her original music is actually her baby daddy. So it's a lot tied into it. But as far as the mental aspect of it, Meg's been through a lot, lost a lot of people, and has a lot of accomplishments. But you cannot forget that she's human.
Well, I won't touch on that. That'll leave that to you. My thing is, recently there was an article that said that Joe Budden said that he saw Meg Thee Stallion mistreat people, and she was mean to so and so, and she did this, that, and other. And my question is, what in the hell does that have to do with Tory Lanez shooting her? I'm completely confused. So you mean to tell me because you saw a woman mistreat somebody else, male or female, that the punishment for that is to be shot by Tory Lanez? I that's so ridiculous to me. I don't I don't know Meg. I don't know who Meg mistreated. I don't know who she treated well. I don't know anything about her. I just know that as a man, I am 1,000% against a man shooting a woman. Period. I don't need to know if it's gotten to the point where she said you a trash rapper or you guys are breaking up, this, that, and other. It seems like you would be man enough, since you this big man, to just walk away. But even if you're not man enough to walk away, you can't be soft enough to pull out a gun.
And that's the thing. It showed in the text messages where he said I was too drunk, and then it moved on to him apologizing for his sexual misconduct and not necessarily a fight. Him shooting. Gunshot residue was found on all three of them, and the thing is, the story keeps changing with Tori, and then everything that Kelsey said at the day of when it happened of the event, she's retracting all her statements. But it's also in the mix that Tori offered her $1 million. She keeps denying that he never said anything about the gunshot, but is saying yes, he offered to pay for my lawyers. No, he didn't say anything about shooting anybody, but yes, he said he will pay me $1 million if I don't testify. So it's a lot of to and from going back and forth, and they keep questioning Meg's credibility, but they need to question Tori's. And it's a lot of men that are on social media and bashing Meg the Stallion just like they did when she first came out, because a stallion is actually a male castrated horse. But you know,
I don't even know what that
a stallion.
means. No, I know. I know.
What part?
I don't because uh well, Megan Thee Stallion is not the first woman to be called a stallion in our culture. That's not the first.
Being
No, but that's what I'm saying. No, but that's not the first time. Like they've always made references to extremely thick women as stallions. She's a stallion. That's further. That's longer than I've been on the earth. They pimps in the '70s. She was a stallion. They had a stable of stallions. That's what a pimp calls all of his hoes. A stable. That's what it's called. So I don't get that reference when I hear people say stuff like that. That's what I mean by like the ignorance that is trafficked through conversation. If you have a conversation with a dumb person, know that after that conversation you're gonna be dumber than you were before it started. That's just a fact. My thing is, I don't know how men are coming to the defense. If hitting a woman makes you a woman beater, what are you if you shoot a woman?
Eddie Murphy.
Like what are you? No. All jokes aside, no. The- okay, so let's look at that from Harlem Nights. The reason that Eddie Murphy's character, Quick, shot her, it was because the image they were trying to portray is that this man was a pure killer and did not care who got in the way. He killed somebody from a child, and Quick was quick on the trigger, quick to kill. That's what that was supposed to represent. That's in most movies when they show the villain and the hero, it's the same story. The hero is usually abandoned or orphaned. So is the villain. The difference is that the hero looks at the pain that they've endured and says, I'm not going to let anybody else go through that. The villain says, the world hurt me, so I'm going to hurt the world. That's what it is. The villain and the hero have the exact same story. Remember, before Prince T'Challa became the Black Panther, his father died and he was orphaned.
Just like
Killmonger's father, the same story. But they show you Killmonger's pain through scars on his body. They tell you the story about how Wakanda abandoned him. He was orphaned. The world took King T'Challa. That the world took him. Both men orphans. Both men Wakandans. The difference was one wanted to make the world pay for what they did to Wakanda, and the other Wakanda wanted to make the world at peace. So, for a man to stand up and say that it is okay for a man to shoot a woman, they're starting with a real mental problem from within, because as a man you should not want to see harm befall upon a woman. Number one, we're taught as children. A little girl hit a boy, they tell the little boy, before they tell the little girl to stop, they tell the little boy, don't you hit a girl. So I'm trying to figure out, I don't care how bad of a person Meg Thee Stallion is or isn't. I don't know about the Houston Hotties. I don't know about any of that. All I know is that for Tory Lanez to be mad enough to shoot a girl, or a woman, I'm sorry, to shoot a woman, to me, this is just strictly Casey Benefield. He's some type of sucker. That's how I feel about it.
Well, they're talking about he's going to face up to 23 years.
He won't get that.
I don't believe he's going to get it either,
He
honestly. But moving on from that, all I'm going to say is that my thoughts and prayers are with Meg, because regardless of what happened in this situation, no one deserves to be attacked, especially if they are said victim. Because regardless of who shot who, somebody shot Megan, and Megan has fragments in her foot. So that's the fact. Let's deal with that.
Well, that just makes sure that we have this show really was about the testing and understanding of mental illness. Once again, our thoughts and prayers are with the family of Twitch, because he, like I said, extremely tragic situation. And now, when tragedy is linked closely to a holiday, it's no longer a holiday. And I can attest from that, because my father passed away on Father's Day. And Father's Day has never been, since the passing of Lou Jean Sr., has never been a great day for myself or my family. And leading up to Father's Day is always like, you can feel the sadness. So now I can only imagine what the mother of his children, his wife, what they're going through, because this will now be synonymous with Christmas, and that's pretty tough.
Lastly, before we close out, of course, I always try to bring up a question or a statement for us to discuss, since we've had so much about mental illness. The quote says, I'm a damaged person, but I still pass out love like my pain doesn't exist. And I feel like that statement is twofold. For one, it's the choice to pour out what wasn't poured into you. And secondly, it's to not take advantage of the situation, but also showing the strength of a person. Because so many of us, myself included, would rather give the shirt off our backs and act like nothing's happening to us and take in someone else's burden than to thoroughly communicate how we feel.
Well, that is an important. Like I said today, our pastor spoke about it. There's a great deal of information. I wrote a paper for school. There's more help on the internet than there is harm when it comes to suicide. That's what the numbers say. You can't argue with empirical knowledge, because if you type in suicide, it's now that you'll get links to all types of suicide prevention. The problem is, we need to check on a person and our friends and family before we get to that stage. Don't wait for the house to be on fire to have a fire exit plan. Have a plan in place. Make sure your people are okay, man. That doesn't seem, if you say you love somebody, make sure your people are okay. Shouldn't be a job. You should when you ask somebody, hey, how are you doing? Mean it. Don't just say it because it's polite. Mean it. When you say, hey, how are you doing? Do a little investigating. Say, hey, I see you not laughing like you usually are. You good? It doesn't take much. You'll be surprised at what you get back by just trying to be there for somebody else.
And I'm going to piggyback off that. And the happiest people are usually the ones that are suffering the most inside. I'll say that. The one that's always quick to give, the one that's always quick to smile, the one that's always quick to encourage are usually the people that need it the most. But not only that, this whole crazy word, it shouldn't be given freely. Saying, "Oh, you acting crazy," or "Oh, you got an attitude, you must be crazy." When people are going through something, like the statement says, "I'm a damaged person, but I still pass out love like my pain doesn't exist." I'm gonna love you despite myself. So my thing is this: if I open up to you about the pain after I've dealt all this love, why would you reject me? And that's where you learn your true friends. And like you said, just saying, "Hey, how are you?" And like I said, with people that I talk to, I always say, "How are you really?" Because everyone says, "Oh, I'm good, I'm fine," regardless if they're breaking inside. You have to actually care about the people you talk to.
That's that's a fact. Because you will ask a stranger passing by, going to get coffee or into the store, "Hey, how you doing?" But you won't pick the phone up, send a text, or talk to somebody you love. And as people, we gotta do better. That's all I got.
Yep, that's it for me too, you guys. As always, you said what you said, so stand on it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you have anything to add to the conversation, our lines are open. Casey Benefield, Mo Benefield, Better Benefield. Until next time, have a great day.